Sarah and Justin, very good neighbours of ours, came round and I gave the children a quick tour of the VR, and their daughter Grace, it was her birthday and she did very well in flying the A10C. So in the birthday card I put this birthday voucher for a 1 hour's flying lesson in VR. So afterwards I'll show you how Grace performed. I'll take 4 videos and stitch them together. So the first part will be Grace taxiing out to runway 07 at Kutaisi. Then we'll see the takeoff. She does a route round a flight plan following the waypoints and actually tries the autopilot out, and she flies over an aircraft carrier, and then we'll cut to the approach and landing, and I may show you some of the taxi back into the airfield. So now moving over to where Grace starting up and taxiing. So this is Grace sitting in the A10C2 there. Just called air traffic up to taxi. See, she's got a lightning pod there. She's got 21, 21, 21 and 21 Mark 5 rockets. Not that she'll be using them. And an early warning pod there. So she's more or less ready to go. A quick look inside. So we've zeroed the altimeter and we'll do the whole route on the QFE. We'll just stay with this shot waiting for Grace to taxi out. Now this was quite a challenge for her because my rudder pedals are fixed to the floor a set distance from the joystick, and Grace, is she 10 years old I think? She's not as tall as me. It was very awkward to operate the rudders correctly, and she did very well under the circumstances. So see if we can see the engine, see if we can see the revs. No, still sitting at 60%. Right, so she's trying the rudder pedals there, look. So here she goes. She has to turn right. Okay, first time, so she swings round, misses the F-16 and keeps the wheel on the tarmac. Close to the grass, Grace, but you missed it. See the F-16 there and the B-52 up ahead. At the end here she turns left onto the towards the main runway. So a struggle to hit the toe brakes, and we did have to use the W key on the keyboard. Whoa, well done, Grace, kept it on there. Thought it might have been too much of a struggle to stop and then start in taxi. So I think we go straight onto the active without making a call to air traffic. So all in all, Grace, for your first taxi, that was very well done. You kept the wheels on the tarmac, and you're coming round to the runway. Look, and we've even put an audience there.
For taxi, you are cleared for takeoff when ready. Climb 300 at QFE 29.77.
So here she is. Now I'll stop the video there and then cut to when we start the takeoff roll, because I had to explain quite a bit to Grace on how to handle the takeoff. So this is Grace now. I've explained to her how we want to handle the takeoff. She should be going to full power any second now. So let's see if we can see the engine note change. Here she goes. And brakes off. She's going. Now we couldn't do this with the nose wheel steering engaged, so she had to do it, try and control the centre line just with the rudders. So it's not doing too bad. Okay, she's pulled the stick back, she's airborne. Didn't use any flaps on the takeoff. Our speed's coming up nice, and there's the gear going up. So well done, Grace. That was very good considering that was your first takeoff. That's the airfield we'll be trying to land on once you've been around the route. Have a quick look at the route. I don't know whether we can see that. No. Has to turn left in a moment. So just passing through 2,500 feet. And she starts to turn to the left. Stay with Grace for the turn. Nice day. Cloud base is about 7,500 feet, so we'll be staying below that for a while. So still got the throttles at 100% because I didn't want to swamp Grace with too much information. She did very well to get it down the runway and up in the air, and that was without any input from myself at all. So look inside to see what she's up to. Right, she's actually got the autopilot set up, and she's reducing. No, she's not reducing the engine revs at the moment, I think. Stay with Grace for the turn, see how that goes, and then I'll stop the video there and then cut to the Grace overflying the ship. I think we can see the ship that she's going to be overflying. That's the ship that she's going to be flying over. I think she flies over at about 2,000 feet. And here's the turn coming, I think. Okay, we'll stop the video there and then cut to Grace descending and overflying the aircraft carrier. I think she's doing the turn now, so stay with this. Grace was actually using the head-up display, so she could see how the waypoints were working. I was actually controlling, changing the waypoints for her. But this turn is Grace flying it herself.
Warning, autopilot.
Okay, I'll stop it there. So, back with Grace, and she's 16 miles from the aircraft carrier. That's square in the sea with the tail on it. That's the targeting pod, or the waypoint, over the aircraft carrier. And she's Grace trying to descend and fly over the boat. There's the boat. Can't see ourselves yet. See the aircraft carrier there. "13 miles to go." You've got the idea, Grace. I think I explained to her about we could do a path hold on autopilot, explain the switches to her, and Grace is now on autopilot descending. We didn't alter the throttles, and we've made no radio calls to the boat. Early days, Grace. "8 miles to go to the aircraft carrier." Let's go external view. So you can see the carrier there. Let's have a look from the boat. Can't see Grace. I haven't put any aircraft on the deck. Here she comes. There we go, we're doing 285 knots now, descending through 1500 feet. No, still can't see Grace. Stick with external. Here she comes, right over the top of it. And fired a flare. That was me operating that. No, can't see your aircraft, Grace. So now turning towards approach. And this is Grace flying it by herself, really. Very little input from me. I'll stop the video there and then we'll cut to the approach and landing, and we'll pick it up, say about 10 miles. So this is Grace attempting her first landing. We're at 2,700 feet, doing 170 knots. Her flaps are down and she's just put her gear down. See the runway now on the nose of the aircraft. Let's have a look inside the cockpit. So we're 10 miles to go. So Grace is flying it more or less by herself and I'm just doing little inputs. And I think I had the runway set up on the, so you can see the runway there on the TGP, so we're slightly to the right of the centre line. 9 miles to go, so plenty of time to correct it. So let's have a look at this from outside. So we're right of the centre line, so coming back onto the centre line now.
Concealed. 1-1. Inbound.
Well, this is Grace's first ever attempt. And we'll see how she copes with it. Now, I've seen people doing their first attempts before, and the way they bounce when they hit the runway and run off onto the grass. So we'll see how this one goes. Nice view of the runway. She's nicely on the centre line there, Grace. Let's have a look inside the cockpit. 170 knots. A bit fast. You're descending now.
In field 1-1 inbound.
So we've just done the call to say inbound. Obviously a bit late. We don't ask for permission to land, but I did try it with the communications menu, but it didn't appear. So now I'm just doing very little corrections for Grace and talking to her all the way down the slope. So she's now basically doing this herself. All I'm doing is actually operating the air brakes for her. Not far to go now, Grace. Okay, lining up quite nicely.
Altitude, altitude.
53. Let's follow this from outside. Don't forget you've got a crowd of people there, Grace, watching you. There we go. There we go. I didn't even bounce. Okay. Now the problem was trying to keep it on the runway. Don't forget we couldn't engage the nose wheel steering, so engines are throttled right back. I put full air brake out. We missed the first turning, and I did hit the W key to do the brakes. So Grace, you can walk away from a landing and meet the other pilots in the bar. That's classed as a good landing. And you haven't overstressed the airframe either. So now you've got to get back without taxiing into the grass.
Enfield 1-1. Taxi to parking area.
That was no input or very little input from myself. I think the only question Grace asked as we were taxiing up to this junction was, which way do I turn? And the answer was to the left, Grace. here's Grace Naughty. She's playing with the throttles a bit fast into the turn there, but she's keeping it on the concrete. This is no input from myself at all. This is all Grace. And I said, when you get onto this parking block here, turn to the right and pull up by the side of the F-16s there in U1 o'clock. I've seen people come along here and hit the wheel on the lamp posts. Are you going to hit the lamp post, Grace? No. And stopping the video there.